like fall out of a seat, man.
What do you? So many questions.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the MulletCast, the podcast where business and pleasure collide. My name is Evan Balmer.
What's going on, everyone? It's Mike Marcel.
What's happening, Mike?
Same old. I'm excited to play with instruments today.
That's right, because today we do have a multi-instrumentalist in the house, April Centrone. April is a musician, teacher, music therapist based in the Jersey Shore. She is also the owner of an emerging music and arts center in Asbury, Fourth Wave Rehearsal Studios. Find the studios online at Fourth Wave AP. Fourth is spelled out, so Fourth Wave AP.
Good spelling.
And follow April at April Centrone. We also got Kira Sanchez in the house. She's a little shy right now, but she is going to perform with us as well. What's going on, April?
Hello, how are you?
Good, thanks. How you doing today?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me.
No problem. All right, so Mike's got something he's got to get off his chest. We just, first of all, let's say congratulations. You recently were married.
Thank you.
That's awesome. I saw David Rossalon was the photographer.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the other photo thing.
That was you were going to bring up? Yeah. I saw you guys tag him on the IG account.
So David did some nice photos. He's actually been a guest on the show as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that was cool. So how do you know David?
I feel like a long time, in the musician circle. He's a wonderful musician, amazing, and just love his photos. He's done photos of us before, and I thought he would just be the perfect touch for the ceremony.
Yeah, you have one of those, like, I think what everyone dreams of is their wedding photo. Like your group shot that he took was really awesome.
It was beautiful.
That's cool. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
So let's talk about your music career. How did that get started?
Oof. Well, I started playing drums when I was 9 years old. Drums, percussion, snare, Western instruments. Played orchestra in school, then played the jazz band, and high school played in garage bands, played a bunch of grunge music.
Nice.
And, well, basically, my family's from the city, mostly, and as soon as I was done with high school, I basically escaped back up to the city.
Where'd you go to high school? Like in Jersey?
Yeah, in Pleasant Beach.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so I went on to take forensic psychology in school. I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York City.
They're known for their percussion program.
Yeah, exactly, right?
They teach you how to beat raps.
Right. You know what it was? No one said to me, "Oh, you can have a career in music." Definitely not. And I also was genuinely interested in psychology and figuring out how people tick and how can I help people, how can I help children. So it made sense, and I liked law and I liked that merging, so I went for forensic psychology. But I never stopped playing music, and while I was bumming around in New York, there's so many amazing concerts there.
Right.
And I was yearning for something, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. I experienced a lot of, obviously, rock earlier and jazz and so forth, and then started to see these experimental concerts, but I was still looking for something, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And then I started seeing these world music concerts. I started seeing there was a lot of Indian music. I went to an all-night Indian performance, and I started like, wow, there's something here. There's trance. There's, something about traditional music. So I kept sneaking around, checking out shows. And then one day I heard about this concert by a Palestinian oud and violin virtuoso. I said, let me check this out. And literally, I remember February 2005. I was 20 years old. My whole life changed in that seat. It was something about Arabic music that just absolutely threw me. Wow. My life turned around 180 degrees, and it was wonderful and terrifying because I was like, oh my God, suddenly my life has to be about this, but I know zero about this music.
Right.
So I just went in hard. I looked him up online, Simone Shaheen. I saw he had an Arabic music retreat, like this 1 week thing in the summer where you study the theory.
Right.
And I went, and that was it. I met the whole community, and my life just took off in that direction. And that's all I listened to, all I played for a while, all the shows I saw. And
wow.
And then eventually started performing and teaching the music.
Mm-hmm.
And then I toured a lot. Around Middle East, around Europe, around the Far East, South America, doing a mixture of educational visits, like different universities or are doing weird experimental things with drum set. Like there was a band called Secret Chiefs 3,
Right.
which mixes like sort of Persian Arab influences with extremely heavy rock music.
Right.
So I was playing drums for that and playing percussion. So a lot of different groups touring. At the same time, I started a group for other obsessed people like me.
Right.
Called New York Arabic Orchestra, a nonprofit organization, incepted in 2007, so that we can live and breathe this music for everyone who was, like I said, obsessed and couldn't get it out of their heads. And
That's cool.
Then that was it. Then I kind of picked up and left to Lebanon for a few years to work with refugee youth,
Right.
teaching music there, and now I'm back.
So, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you finish school, or were you like
Oh, yeah.
180 and I'm like, I'm done, I'm dropping out, like traveling, or?
I did. I finished school. Actually, I was in the process of finishing my master's, and I had an externship going on at a children's psychiatric hospital out in Long Island.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all going great. I was doing my psychology work, and those kids have to actually live there. They're court ordered to be there, so there's a school within, and all the things that come with a school. And I noticed there was a music room there, and I talked to the director of psychology. I said, "What's the deal? There's no one in this music room. There's no one using the drums or anything." And she said, "Well, we try to hire a music teacher, and they don't last a day in here. So, but if you want to take a shot at it," I said, "Yeah,
Oh,
sure."
wow.
So they gave me a group of girls, like 13, 14 years old girls, and they warned me. They said, these girls are bad news. They're dangerous. Watch your back. And I said, no problem.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I sat with them, teaching them drum set, which takes a lot of coordination, a lot of focus. And these girls have been through a lot, and they've been also put on a lot of medications. And they're learning. And then they also start teaching each other. And this, I remember a staff member coming through and not believing her eyes, not at all recognizing these kids. They said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, music, drums." But the moment that really shifted me, to answer your question, one day one of those girls looked up at me and said to me in the eyes, with such pride and self-esteem, said, "I'm a drummer,"
That's cool.
And that was it. I'm like,
That's awesome. Yeah,
you know what, music, and it was at the same time anyway that the economy crashed, so that job I was about to get didn't work out. So I said, you know what, the universe is saying, you can get, first of all, work in music. It is a thing. It's been working. I've been traveling so far. And then when that girl said that, I said, I don't think there's anything better than music therapy, so to speak, which sometimes is literally just teaching an instrument, meeting someone at their level, just not another authority figure, not another person looking down at the kid, seeing them as bad or seeing them as wrong, like maybe they experience at home or at school, just someone wanting to share something, and something that gives them a sense of identity, sense of self-esteem. And so I said, this is it. This is what I'm.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and it's probably like an escape, right, from everything else that's going on.
Of course.
You can forget about it and
I know.
zone in on something else.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So do you remember like what it was about the drums and percussion that drew you in originally?
Yes. Well, the end of third grade, they splayed out all the different instruments you're allowed to suddenly start playing.
Right.
There was saxophone, there was trumpet, and then there was a snare drum, and I said, well, I know how to hit stuff now. But I think I also recognized that it fit my energy and personality, and they wanted to already pin me like so many children with ADHD and whatever. And they talked to my parents like they talked to so many parents about, oh, they got to put this kid on, just because I had some energy, just because I wanted to express myself more in school, and it wasn't enough. There wasn't enough going on. So the drums definitely focused a lot of that energy while I was suffering through the style of school in this country, the sitting in one place and really not learning all that much. But that's a topic for another day.
That's for part 2.
Yeah, not learning nearly as much as I wanted to be learning.
Right.
So, So that absolutely focused me and directed my energies and gave me something to look forward to, something, I would wake up early, because they would put like band before school because it's not, shouldn't be part of the actual middle curriculum, right? So I would wake up excited to do concert band, and, it was
That's
definitely...
It's funny, I did that too, and I totally remember the day the guy comes in, lays out all the instruments, or whatever, right? So I go cruising home, and I'm telling my parents, like, I want to play trombone, because the dude put on, like, this show, he's marching around, sliding this thing out, I'm like, that's awesome. So my parents, like, talk me off the ledge, they're like, no, you got to play drums, right? Meanwhile, they're thinking, like, that's the only instrument you don't have to buy, everything else, because you just got a drum pad, basically. So I was in the school band playing drums as well.
Cool.
Saxophone.
Right.
Nice.
A couple years.
I can see that.
Yeah. You can see that? Does that fit the aura? Yeah.
Sax aura.
Nice.
So did you, once you got into band, did like your interest in drums cross over into like music you listened to also? Like, did you pick that up quickly, or was that like later?
Pretty quickly, yeah. I started pretty immediately playing with bands and garages and whatever we listened to, Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots and stuff back then.
Cool.
And I think we played some Pennywise. We played, and then when jazz came around in high school, that became another interest of mine.
Yeah.
And I loved the fluidity of that, which later interested me in when I took on the hand drums, because a lot of that was expressed in a lot of the world drumming.
Right. So did you have favorite drummers from that time?
Definitely. Well, I was a big Tool fan.
Okay, cool.
So Danny Carey for sure. David Grohl.
Right.
For Nirvana and all those heavy hitters. So I listened to a lot of Led Zeppelin.
Nice.
So Bonham for sure. And then it's Gene Krupa, the classics. I loved old big band swing.
Right.
So I Gene Krupa and
that's cool.
those dudes.
That's awesome.
It's funny. I remember like around that time too, like every kid in grammar school used to have the debate with all your friends, like who's the best drummer, who's the best guitarist, and like everyone's rattling off their favorites. It was like a never-ending battle.
Yeah. And they're different, it's all different music, so it can be the best.
So did you notice early on, like, or later, I guess, like Zeppelin obviously incorporated a lot of Middle Eastern stuff, right?
Didn't know it at the time.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's such a, now thinking back on all the rock music, that's a lot of the rock music that's popular, including Tool. There's a lot of, they use elements of drones and world music or Middle Eastern elements that put you in this mood and this vibe, and it's definitely used and abused in rock music for sure. Yeah.
So when you were overseas, how many years were you traveling?
I was 3 years in Lebanon.
Nice. Yeah. And did the experience that you had at the hospital with the kids in the States make you want to do that for the kids out there, or is that something that just kind of came your way and you followed through with it?
Yeah, I think it was unraveling over a period of years. I think it was around 2008 when I shifted my focus and I left the hospital and did music really full-time, world music and performance and teaching full-time. But yeah, 2013 was the year when I said, you know what, if I don't leave now, I don't think I ever will.
Mm-hmm.
And being like many people who grow up in America, I think we feel a little bit attached and afraid maybe to leave. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'll give myself 3 months. But all my friends said, you're going to love that place. You're not coming back. And sure enough, 3 months became 3 years.
Wow.
And, but I definitely, I couldn't stand this thing of watching news here and feeling helpless. Felt like if I can do something, if I can contribute something.
Yeah. And
it was the best decision ever and the best work I've ever done. So.
Were there any standout moments? I'm sure there was a thousand, but was there anything that really...
Yeah, sure. Well, one particular camp, it's a well-known camp in Beirut called Shatila, and has decades of Palestinian refugees living there. And just a lot of horrific things that happen there, massacres, whatnot. And more recently, it's been taking in Syrian refugees, and there's really not any room, but, because of the Syrian war. So I was teaching at a school, if you will, within the camp for Syrian refugees. And, in the camps there's not really electricity. It's sort of flooded everywhere. There's a smell, it's kind of it's rough and dark and dank. And these kids would, rush in because there was no other class. They were experiencing all week, and the camp life is kind of rough. It's kind of dangerous. It's kind of difficult, and you see families, grandmother, crouched, 10, 12 people in it looks like a basement, and they're stacked on top of each other. So these kids running into class, to sing Arab songs and poetry and play the percussion, and they just didn't want to leave. It didn't matter if the place was dark and wet and no electricity. They just didn't want. It was like food and water to them.
Yeah.
And of course that contrasted hugely to the experience of teaching a lot of kids in the States, which they take education for granted. There was like everything, and that meant a lot to me. That was the moment.
Kept some hope alive,
Yeah. Even if it's that one little drop that you make, I think it makes a difference for kids forever.
Yeah.
So when you got immersed in the music, did you pick up language skills as well?
Yeah, I wanted to.
Right.
I genuinely wanted to learn Arabic, so I just worked on it, and I lived with people who didn't speak any English, so that worked.
Gotta learn.
That
Gotta learn
worked
fast.
the rest of the way. Yeah.
So at the time you were in Lebanon, you could kind of communicate
Yeah.
at least basics or something with children, and
Yeah, because those kids definitely don't speak English
Right.
for the most part. They not even receiving Arabic music education. A lot of them not receiving any education. So yeah, it was great to be able to converse with them.
Nice. And then year 3, you come back to New York or back to the Jersey Shore?
Yeah, mix. I mean, now I'm fully Jersey shored, but but I mean, it's still,
it really wasn't that long ago.
Right, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, most of my work is still in New York because the specialty and my student base and the gigs are, it hasn't reached down here, but definitely that's my vision to bring, world music, Middle Eastern music, Arabic music down to the shore.
Right. So when you were in Lebanon at that time, were you still performing outside of the work you were doing with children? Were you popping out and doing gigs and that kind of stuff?
A lot, yeah.
And where were you going?
All over every little nook of Lebanon. And Lebanon is beautiful.
Right.
It was always considered like this little jewel of the Middle East, and it's this gorgeous Mediterranean seaside, and then 2 minutes drive in, you're going up these incredible mountains. So you have it's like the size of New Jersey, the whole country, but the mountains and the valleys and it's just gorgeous. So I traveled all over the country mostly. Popped in, the Emirates and places like that, in Kuwait, and not as interesting, dusty, hot, dry places.
Right.
I mean, Dubai is like one big space mall. I don't know.
Right.
But Lebanon is beautiful, and I toured with a well-known performer there named Ziad Rahbani. Any Arab person would know who that is.
Right.
But anyway, he's son of Fairuz, who's like the diva, like someone who if she performs in America or anywhere, she gets paid $1 million kind of thing. She's
Right.
like the. So we toured a lot. We played 3 times a week, and he had a thing for jazz to the point of making all of his audience crazy, but they didn't care. He just wanted to play jazz standards most of the time.
So you were playing jazz in Lebanon?
Yeah.
That's what I was going to
Pretty
ask.
cool.
Was there were you playing American music?
Oh my God,
Yeah.
they're obsessed with it.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're obsessed. I mean, which is the case if you go around the world, you see
Yeah.
that a lot. But every once in a while, we got to play his big concerts where we played his compositions and stuff, which I love. But yeah, you'll hear all these jazz standards and in Lebanon. And there's a Blue Note there too.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really hilarious. We played there all the time.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So it's a decent touring scene then?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever played that much. my life, 3 years there is equals 10 years here.
Right.
People always playing, and practicing, and maybe it's just easier, or maybe it's just there's also a smaller pool of musicians. I don't know what it is, but people love to play, and there's more time in the day there. I don't know, it's
Right.
just just a lifestyle. You take 2-hour coffee, lunch breaks, you know.
That's nice.
You know,
I
you
like
kind
that.
I
of
like that a lot.
at lunch and dinner is like 10, all the shows are after 10:30, and yeah, there's so
Right.
much performing and life and music and
Right.
art and seize the day kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like
And
that.
music is it a big part of the culture there?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was such a golden age of music that happened, and unfortunately, they had their war,
Right.
like 70s, 80s, 90s, which kind of upset it. And then, as a result of war, really in any country, especially a country with a long history, you know, there becomes this influx of really wanting the West more than ever, and wanting that kind of music and that art, and sort of wanting to push away the tradition, push, like the kids don't want anything to do with it, like, and say,
Right.
oh, my country stinks and music, who cares,
Right.
and they just want it. So when I came there, all they wanted to talk to me about, or all they wanted me to do was, you know, anything, you
American,
know,
right.
and they were popping up names of bands. I don't know. Like,
Who's one of them? You know.
well, I mean, I came to know people like Muse and all these bands that
Yeah.
I did, at the time didn't. They love all these
Right.
groups, and
That's pretty cool.
I'm terrible. Like, don't quiz me. But
Is there a decent, like, do Western bands tour there? Or where would kids have to go to see them? Like a big band?
yeah, they have a big festival scene.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like huge festivals on the water, and like I was saying,
It's
like
so
Muse
cool.
play. Like I'm forgetting the names of the bands, but bands you all know.
Right. No, that's cool. So what's it like when you're getting ready to go there? Like you're just packing up and like, all right, like, are you scared? Are you doubting your decision? That kind of stuff?
My family probably was.
Right.
I already knew a lot of people from there, and I mean, rewinding back to like 2005 when I first met, you know, so many people of Arab descent. I was like, wow, these are the sweetest people I've ever known, the most affectionate people I've ever known. That's like it was, you know, certainly not how they're depicted.
Right.
There.
So you were welcomed into the scene like right away?
Yeah, just and just the amount that people are open and the way they talk freely and open, and you're just this family vibe. To be honest, you know, I would walk around sometimes in the middle of the night there, late after a gig, and felt so safe because I knew that someone, if I needed something, that guy walking on the street would stop at nothing and would drop everything he's doing and help me.
Right.
And I don't feel the same way in the States, to be honest. Or, I mean, I guess I can't speak for all the states. I know
Right.
New York, New Jersey, but you know what I'm saying? There's like this village mentality there. If anyone needs help on the side of the road, whatever,
Right.
they're there at your side. You know?
That's why 3 months became 3 years, right? The comfort zone.
Yeah.
I think you caught, you caught it without a doubt. The social element.
Yeah.
I felt like, why am I so relaxed? Why am I so at peace? And I noticed that there weren't so many layers to people. They were just themselves right away. They were
Right.
loving right away. They were interested. They were. If you walk into a bar or restaurant, everyone just, we're all talking. And it's so funny, back when I came to, you know, when I returned in 2016 here, I expected the same, you know, so I'd walk into a bar or restaurant, try to talk to people, they look at me like I got 3 heads, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah, you
That's
hit it
pretty
on the
fun.
nail.
More walls.
More walls,
Yeah.
yeah.
So was it culture shock when you got back here?
It was tough.
Did you feel like alienated?
I had a tough year in a way. I was
Yeah.
kind of feeling a little down and a little like, can I do this?
Right.
You know? But I, you know, I'm here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I think that's cool. Like, I think about, like, if I was going to go on that kind of trip, like, I don't know if I have the courage to do it. Like, I'd like to think I do. But, like, I think of all the things like, oh, how's this ever going to work out? What's going to go wrong? And, like, it's so cool that you just went and did it and, like, you know, had that experience. I think that's awesome.
I recommend it to anyone and everyone, you know, because it changes you forever, certainly,
Sure.
being in a different culture. And you're never the same, you know,
Right.
when you're touched like that, this sort of, this loving environment, I would say. And you know, traveling in general is very important. I recommend it to everyone.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know.
Awesome. So, speaking of traveling, you got multiple instruments, and
Yes.
I've been wanting to ask for a while. So, are they all from different regions of the world?
So you could say they're all Middle Eastern.
Okay.
They're all pretty much played in, when we say Middle Eastern music, that usually covers the Arab world, it covers Turkey, it covers Greece as well. So these instruments basically are played in all those places.
Awesome. So, what do we have? Because I was listening to the spelling, and I
I
just
mean,
stopped.
in
before.
my travels, like I feel like that's a rick, is what I want to say. Probably.
Wow,
Yeah,
how do you
it's
know that?
The untrained eye would probably think a tambourine or something, but yeah.
Yeah.
He's so talented.
Well, actually, it is a type of tambourine. So there's families of instruments around the world. Tambourines, lutes, string instruments, plucking instruments, instruments that you play on the lap, bowed instruments. So every country has their own type, right?
Right.
So this is the, I would say, Arab version of a tambourine.
Okay.
And this was the first instrument that hopped out at me, being a drum set player, because it has so many sounds and colors and subtleties that just, I was like, wow, how's that possible, all coming out of one little tambourine? And I've seen the sucker like lead a whole orchestra, like
Really?
amazing. So I mean, I could
Yeah,
give us a little demo
some
of that.
sounds. So it's not the type you hit against your leg. There's a few different sounds we can play on the skin. If we're playing something a little softer. Or if we want to brighten it up, we have actual cymbals. These are real cymbals inside here.
That's cool.
And each of them has a little bit of different tone. Which is kind of cool.
It is cool.
That's sweet.
And then you can also make it even more joyful and play the whole thing. So it's really cool. It's challenging. It took a lot of time, but it was great. So yeah, that's the Rick. Really cool instrument.
That is cool. So what did you pick up first, like when you got into Middle Eastern music?
Yeah, the Rick and the oud was
Okay.
the oud was my sort of other interest. It captured melodically what I wanted to do in my life.
So where does like percussion and cymbals and things, like what are their origins, like in where does Middle Eastern line up with that?
Well, you could say there was sort of a Great Persia, and you had, I mean, we have records of the first music school ever in the world, in southern Spain actually, put together by an Arab named Ziad, and basically, microtonal music is I mean, older than we can kind of fathom. I mean, some of the instruments that are played in Middle Eastern music are depicted in like the walls of the pyramids, for example. So they're at least 6,000 years old, but they could be so old. And drums and flutes are some of the oldest instruments. And I don't have one with me. I wish I brought it. But the nai, the reed flute that is used in Arab and Turkish and Greek music and Persian music is just a piece of bamboo. Very simple.
Wow.
And they discovered it, gosh knows how long, just from wind coming through the bamboos. So let me cut that off.
That's cool.
Dry it, and it's so beautiful.
Right.
So, and drums are also, I mean, as old as you can imagine. I'll talk about the frame drum, which is, they think it could be as old as shamanism, which could be as old as 100,000 years. Because it was the tool for ceremony and for
battle too, right?
For healing, for blessing the earth, and still used to this day, especially by the indigenous, Native Americans. You'll see them play it when they're performing their blessings and ceremonies.
Right.
So, the frame drum, it's very simple, is a piece of wood with a skin over it
Right.
on one side, so it could be goat or cow or fish usually.
Mhm.
And then tambourines are a type of frame drum, just with cymbals or
Right.
rings or whatever. So yeah, I mean, how old these things are, it's pretty old.
Right.
But focusing the history a little more, you know about the Silk Road that traveled? Silk Road basically traveled from the Middle East all the way to the Far East.
Right.
And what's really cool is we hear a lot of influences of exchange back and forth. There's a little Middle Eastern elements that go all the way. Actually, there was a really great conference in Taiwan a few years ago where they explored music of the Silk Road together and brought experts in to talk about
That's
it.
pretty cool.
And in the steppes regions, like the Uyghur area, there's certain instruments that exactly look like some of the Middle Eastern long-necked instruments, but instead of referring to it as a specific microtone, they'll refer to it as a shake. You know, so maybe like the codifying is not quite there, but the sounds are still there. And then even I heard there's some Chinese instruments and East Asian instruments that have quarter tones there, but they may not necessarily refer to them specifically in written music as such. But interestingly, while we were there in Taiwan, there was 300-year-old music, Taiwanese music, Chinese music that was exactly what you would call, quote, Arab music.
Wow.
It had the whole microtone system, the same scales, the same rhythms. So I mean, my theory, there's a lot, unfortunately, politically, music and culture is buried around the world, and it's hard to know exactly. But with all the research and all the traveling and reading and exploring this topic, I think there was definitely a link when Ziad started this school. I think microtonal music was shared across the Silk Road.
Right.
You know, and to call it Arabic music is just what we call it because there's no other
Right.
term. But microtonal music and the oud is played. I mean, I found out everywhere.
Right.
So it's really incredible.
That's cool.
So.
It's wild.
Oud is spelled O-U-D.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
nice,
knew that.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a little musical break and
Yeah,
play us
sure.
something?
Sure.
All right, cool.
Yes.
Do you guys want a water?
Oh.
Yeah.
fine.
I
What,
wasn't sure if you were going to be singing or not, so I figured.
what kind of stuff are you going to play?
I will play. Let's see. I'll play a short improvisation and a song.
Nice. All right, so this is an oud track, obviously.
So this is 11 strings.
I'm already
Fretless.
intimidated. Like, we'll talk about how you picked that up the first time after you're done. That's cool.
That's really soothing.
Yeah.
It's like calming music.
So how did you get into the oud originally? Especially as a percussionist, like, is this considered a percussion instrument in a way, even though it's obviously a stringed instrument?
Well, certainly percussive. It's a type of plucking instrument, like part of the plucking family. It's considered the grandfather actually of like the lute. So it's a type of lute, and then it became the European lute, and then the guitar.
Right.
You know, so all these instruments that you sort of pluck at.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the plectrum is a little different. It's like a long piece of horn, actually.
Is it really?
Yeah, slice of horn.
That's
that you hold.
crazy.
It's a little bit different. So instead of holding it tight, and you hold it in your whole hand. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Well, definitely. I also it spoke to something in me very instantly. Like you said, like, wow, this is soothing, or this is very rich, and you know, something about also there was more notes there. It was almost like suddenly I could see more colors in life. It was just a additional experience.
Right.
And, you know, back in 2005 when I was just transformed and wanted to follow this music so heavily, it was because it wasn't just finding a music that fit. It was finding some emotional expression I was missing, you know. I don't know. Maybe a lot of us in America feel like we're missing that. You know, something that's like really, I guess emotional is the word, and deep and it was certainly intimidating being an American girl, seeing people just play this instrument and look into each other's eyes as they were doing it, and this was so much like love and emotion and feeling, and it took years to feel comfortable myself doing that, because there's no way of playing it without some element of emotion, because it's built into these scales. Really
it's interesting though, is like, that's what's weird now that you say that, is like I hear that and I hear like thousands of years of like some culture, right, because of those sounds. But you, like you just said, you're an American girl expressing yourself through this instrument, right? So that's kind of an interesting, like, what's coming out is like, like, what are you expressing at that time? It's totally different from the instrument's origins, which is weird.
Well, before a lot of the lines were drawn between what country is which, you know, our history is so old. I mean, who we are. I mean, it goes far back before when lines were drawn.
Sure.
You know, and again, if these instruments were as old as at least several thousand years, then it's something personal to us. It has to be. So, you know, America existing for 300 years doesn't really mean much, you know.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
And who can explain these things, you know, why certain, I mean, gosh, I know so many people who are, like, certain other kinds of music speak to them, you know, like Indonesian music. I know people who are just Americans, or I know, like, Japanese who want to do Brazilian music. Like, that's what that just speaks to them. So, you know, mysteries and wonderful mysteries to life. Who knows?
Yeah,
that's true.
It's so the sounds are kind of in everyone already.
Yeah.
You know, they're in our veins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's cool.
You know?
So was it hard to pick up the oud? Like, have you ever played guitar before?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I did play some guitar and bass and stuff. So if you play any instrument where you have to press down strings, you have a leg up.
Right. Right. So your left hand's probably similar. It's the right hand that would be a lot different, I guess.
Yeah, the right hand. It's different. It's more of a dropping motion, which is kind of wonderful actually, because you relax. It's not a sort of a tight grip. It's you actually let your whole hand go, and it's as if the instrument was designed for our exact anatomy. It's so kind of beautiful. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's just the weight of the hand and the extension of the wrist, and plop, and it's sort of, you're relaxed even when you're playing.
Right.
And the left hand, you know, you have kind of frets, but
is it marked? Or no?
No, I mean, there aren't frets, but in the sense of, like, if you play cello or violin, it's same deal. So, but in this case, we have, you know, let's say this note. So let's say we're playing G, and then we're playing A flat, or we're playing A, but we also have A half flat. So you hear that? versus
Right.
versus we have.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you
Sweet.
just move your first finger a little bit depending on the flat or the half flat.
Right. And then how, like, I'm overwhelmed when I see this. I'm like, oh my God. Like, you walked in and you're going to tune this thing and it's got 11 strings. Like,
Oh.
what's tuning like?
So this one, the modern ouds are F on the top, F on the bottom.
Uh-huh.
It's a little brighter. The original are C and C. So basically, from the high string is F, and then C, and then G, then A, and then D, excuse me, then A, and then you can tune your bass string how you like. I tuned it to G to have that nice, the nice communication there.
Yeah.
So
That was cool. It reminded me of, like, I don't know what the style of guitar would be, but, like, how you drop that, like, bass line and then go into other
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, dun, 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 dun.
yeah, you can answer yourself.
Right.
You know, Yo-Yo Ma, the cellist, calls it like the king of the instruments.
Right.
The oud, he's obsessed with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
That's awesome. So how do you find yourself between oud and percussion? Like, where's your love?
oh man, they satisfy definitely different things for sure.
And could you play both, like, within the same group you're playing with? Like, you might play oud on some tracks, or, you know, songs, and then percussion on others.
Yeah. I mean, here, play a beat real quick to see how it sounds together.
Drop beat.
Drop a beat. The Maksoum.
That's the frame drum, Mike. All right, Kira's getting in on the frame drum here. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's a jam for sure. I like it. All right, so we could talk about music forever. Let's shift to like a little bit of your business side.
Sure.
That's like our reverse mullet. We went from pleasure to business.
Yeah.
I like that.
Which I'm even more blown away by. So you started, or slash are starting. I guess it started, but it's not open yet. Fourth Wave Rehearsal Studios in Asbury. Like I think the place came across my radar like online originally, and I was like, holy crap! Look at this space, man. This is awesome. Like, so one thing you mentioned is you're combining like Asbury's architecture and arts, basically, I guess, is part of the spirit of the space.
That's beautiful. I should take that. How can I use that?
So what I'm more blown away by is like, I saw this space. I'm like, that's cool. This is someone that must have been entrenched in Asbury for like a long time, working on this, putting this together.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, you were in like overseas until like 3 years ago. So how did it all? And you said you spent a year like, you know, just getting back in the groove. So how did it all come together so quickly?
Yeah. Well, basically, when I came back, I was sort of, you know, trying to figure out what to do. And the first sort of job that I had, a friend of mine hooked me up with Shore Christian Center. I was playing drums.
Mm-hmm.
It's here in Asbury. They have a House of Independence every Sunday.
Oh yeah.
session.
Right.
And yeah, you know, I think just within that time of like prayer and just like asking the universe, like, what should I do? You know, there was a moment, a very, very specific moment where suddenly I was like, start a business. I said, what? Start a business? I swear. Anyway, ever since then, I said, okay, let's work on this. And, you know, it took 2 years to just get the zoning down and, you know,
right.
and variances and all this kind of stuff, you know.
Right.
Now we're finally rounding the corner. But, yeah, the dream quickly, you know, came to the surface of why a business. Because, you know, after everything that I've, you know, gone through in life, like a center like this would accomplish so many things that I would just love to offer community, you know, like kids programming and just a safe space for all kinds of art, you know, whether it's world music or experimental music or really anything that anyone wants to express without having to, you know, please a bar crowd or please a Saturday night crowd.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a business too.
Sure.
But I personally would love to see a space where you can have anything to say or play and not feel intimidated or not be cut off or
right.
So that was a big thing behind it, and also all of the touring I've done, my favorite places were always industrial spots.
Totally.
And, especially when I toured with Secret Chiefs 3, we stayed a lot of squats, and we played and stayed in a lot of squats in
Right.
Europe, which it's not even allowed here, but you know, big factories where artists live and create, you know, this beautiful space and put their art everywhere, and they have a stage too, and they host you and they make food for you and you sleep there. We slept in like shipping containers, all kinds of crazy things.
That's wild.
You know, sometimes with a mouse running around, but it's fine. So I just always loved that vibe. I feel like it's really conducive for making art and being creative and feeling relaxed to do that, feeling inspired to do that. So when we walked into this industrial space, you know, it was sort of pre-war, so it has this like already this amazing aesthetic. The walls, the bricks, everything has that cool, almost like faux thing going on, and just big and lofty. So that's the one, man.
That's cool. So how did you find? What was the space originally?
Like a plastics factory for a while.
Was it?
It was something before that, but yeah, they were making plastics. So that good thing was it had tons of electricity, more than we would need already.
Cool.
So it had electricity and units within it ready to go. So our build out's not insane,
right?
You know. So definitely the first thing that we wanted to give to Asbury Park was, you know, music rehearsal spaces. I feel like a dedicated music rehearsal spaces is what the city needs. But yeah, then of course we expanded into thinking about, you know, well, let's also have a dance studio. Let's have a photo video studio. Let's have a place where maybe people could do live, you know, maybe podcast, maybe live cast. What are they called? I forget the word. And streaming and theater and, you know, black box and you know, and the dream started bubbling and pop-ups and, you know, conferences and parties and special events.
That's cool.
That's what happened. So it's 6,000 square feet altogether,
which is insane.
Which is nice. And there's 2,000 square feet of just open space, which we picture a lot of these great workshops, classes, concerts, kids stuff, you know,
cool.
Parties, weddings to go on.
Right.
And then you have another 1,000 square foot room, which is great for, we're going to make it dance studio / photo video / a place where a really large band or choir or orchestra could rehearse in there.
Right.
And then we'll have two very dedicated music rooms with equipment in there all the time.
Right.
And one more, actually, a smaller room. We're going to make it like an acoustic room, which could be great for a singer, for a jazz band, for a teacher.
Right.
So yeah,
That's
it's a
really
great
cool.
space.
And there's like co-working kind of possible there, right? Like people could just come and hang out and work or create or whatever.
Yeah, we're exploring that.
Right.
we hope to achieve that too. Yeah, absolutely.
So what's your time frame? You said like you anticipate maybe the fall opening.
Yeah, the fall.
What kind of opening are you gonna throw together? Is there like an event you're planning?
Oh, for sure. It'll be a bash. It'll be a bash. I think people have been chomping at a bit for so long now because we've been teasing them with launch event after launch event.
Right.
That it'll be a bash for sure.
That's cool. And is it something like are you going to be like headlining kind of thing? Or are you going to be part of it and a lot of local artists, or what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to insert myself musically and all that.
So you're keeping this on the business side.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be like, hey, April. No, I mean, but I do, like, all of our launch events so far, we're trying to just showcase different bands in the area,
right.
and different genres, and really it's been collaborative because those bands that want to perform are so looking forward to a space like this. So
that's actually what I saw. Is one of your original performances was, I want to say, at the Saint, and I couldn't make it. And it was like a really sick lineup, and I was like, wow, what's this thing they're doing? It's for this space to like raise, it was awareness and everything. So you've had a couple already. There was that one, but you have a couple coming up on the 19th at Langosta Lounge. That's where Mama Drama's playing. Who else is at that one?
Daughter Vision.
And
we're actually opening up with his name is Schmidt. He does a rendition of B. Arthur,
right?
Like a drag rendition of. So we have like a 30-minute sort of drag show initially, and then he's going to do a cool like sort of emceeing of the show. So we'll have Mama Drama, Daughter Vision.
That's pretty cool.
And I am playing at the very end with a really great sort of world electronica thing. Named Rang Cherries. So
okay,
that's
cool.
That's at
Nice.
midnight. Yeah.
Nice.
So where's the space? Are you allowed to say where it is yet, or no?
Sure. Well, it shares the lot with the brewery, the Asbury Park Brewery.
Okay.
So yeah, it's actually kind of the same type of building, I'd say. I think the plastic company used to use both of them at some time.
Gotcha.
At some point.
It's a good spot.
It's great. It's by the track, so and there's no residences really around,
right.
so making
you could get loud.
Yeah, totally.
That's cool. Yeah. And then once again, you'll be on August 11th at the Clinch Gallery for another event.
Yeah, that'll
That's
have
sweet.
like Tara Dente and Kat London and more, and a lot of female musicians and some folk music, and maybe I'll do something too. Because I don't know, I want to share some of this different kind of music, so inserting it here and there, but trying not to insert me. Trying to insert the music.
That's cool.
We're just vessels anyway.
Yeah, I mean that could inspire like kids or other people that wouldn't be exposed to that type of music around here. Like you found it in the city where it's a lot more common.
Totally.
So that's pretty cool. So what was like the biggest challenge when you took the leap of, all right, I'm going to put this business together?
Well, I mean, you certainly have to jump through a lot of hoops in any city,
right.
To get it, all the details, get it, but actually, I have to say the city was very enthusiastic, which was awesome. The zoning board was really, really thrilled, to be honest, and that's a good sign for the city.
Right.
I don't know. I think, the city obviously is changing rapidly. And I think there's more pressure on emerging arts related things. Obviously things are more expensive.
Yeah.
That goes without saying. And for example, a lot of the parking may start disappearing and becoming paid parking. Luckily we still have sort of general parking around there. So that's cool. I mean, the city has a divide that everyone is aware of. You have these, very wealthy things emerging, and then there's still the local community, and we hope to be part of just bridging that gap a little bit, and welcoming the local community into and having community events and workshops and working with the local schools and local community centers.
Right.
So we don't want to just land in the city, be another business that I feel doesn't really take notice of this without, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you're in a perfect spot. I mean,
Yeah.
you're technically, you know, the train tracks are kind of what the border is. You got the west
Right.
side, and then
Yeah.
you know the up and coming. So that's good.
Right. And even that whole area in the quote east side, you know, is very multicultural, and I hope to just extend to them too. And we want to be able to provide things that are affordable and are inclusive, and inclusivity is like our number one goal.
Yeah, that's cool.
Sure.
Like I noticed you did invited like a lot of local artists and photographers to come in and
Yeah.
take pics in the space early on. I thought that was a cool way to get everyone kind of in the mix, right?
Yeah, I mean, I you know, a lot of people forget that we also have a lot of great artists and photographers, and you know, and besides musicians, and just I think having everyone involved and doing little elements of, and also for them to know that this is a place that they can utilize soon too.
Right. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited to check it out in the fall.
Yeah,
Keep an eye out for that.
The
Okay.
space
This sounds so cool.
Space is intense
Yeah.
for sure. It's super cool.
Yeah.
I've been like dying to get in there like for a while. I was shut down though, man. Like, there's a lot of construction going on. No one's really coming yet. Tell us about the name. So, in your mission and vision, you say the fourth wave is named after the current wave of feminism, which addresses free expression, inclusiveness, and diversity. So what's the origin of the fourth wave? I wasn't familiar with that, so tell us about that.
Yeah, basically, well, wave, I mean, we're near the ocean, and we
Right.
love the ocean. Ocean's very important to us. Yeah, fourth wave is the current wave of feminism, and, you know, feminism is definitely a word that's misunderstood a lot. And, like, basically, feminism is just talking about equality, and a lot of the issues of feminism is equality for everyone, not just women, you know. And it just brings to the fore things that are existing, even though, you know, sometimes in America, or, you know, we're not so aware of, as long as there are women that are experiencing, you know, mutilation or abuse in some country, or even in this country, if there are still women not being paid enough, or not being hired, or not being allowed to express themselves as much as their male counterpart, whatever it may be, subtle things.
Yeah.
There's always a reason for feminist, you know, for feminist conversation, and it got very thwarted by this belief that it's a lot of angry people who hate men. This is like, we want to like get this out.
I mean,
So-
on the equal pay note, like, let's quickly drop in the U.S. women's soccer
Shout out.
team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they should be making like 4 times what the men make. You know what I'm saying? Like, not just
Yeah.
the same. I mean,
Yeah.
they crushed it and have been like epic for a while. You know?
Yeah, they're the best in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
But the women's sports are not,
Right.
you know, I mean, if you walk into a bar, if you see any women's sports, I feel like it's the UFC now. So watching two
Yeah.
women like punch each other
Well,
apart, but it's like, what
You know,
about?
I was shocked though. So we actually, not to get too off topic, but my wife and I 2 Fridays ago went to watch the U.S. soccer team, right? The
Yeah.
girls soccer team play, and the bar was packed. We went to Jamie's in Red
That's
Bank.
awesome.
Yeah.
It was packed with guys watching the TV, drinking
Yeah.
beers, and like, you know what, this is
Yeah, the ratings
This is
are pretty, apparently really
Dublin
high.
House was
Right.
packed, Red Rock, you know.
Hey man, that's
cool.
a
Yeah.
good movement.
Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing about that, it's like, it's, you know, we live in a capitalist world. You know, it's like
Yeah.
if you get ratings. So the interesting thing, again, a little bit off topic, but the recent Pride parade in New York was heavily criticized because of, you know, literally every business was supporting, and
Right.
you know, TD Bank and all this, Starbucks, and you couldn't go anywhere without seeing like Pride support.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that are like, nah, it was supposed to be a protest, and of course there's reasons for that it should be a protest based on things that are still going on, and
Right.
and violence and this. But you know, we live in this world where if you're supported by something that feels like they can get their investment in advertising, I mean, it's kind of the way the world is, and I don't
Right.
think doesn't mean it's a bad direction. It's kind of a necessary one, unfortunately. You know
Right.
what I
Sometimes
mean?
you got to take the good with the bad in a way.
Yeah,
right.
to take,
to
you know.
to make baby steps a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
What was your experience as a woman in Lebanon? Like, was it tough there? Like, do you feel a difference between there and here, culturally?
Well, that was also kind of surprising.
Yeah.
The women are tough, really tough, and
Right.
really outspoken there. I went to the point where I was like, oh man, I need to step up a little bit. Like, a little shy. Like, if there's anything they're not satisfied with in a restaurant or what, like, they will tell, like,
Right.
But there's also this sense of service is important there too. So it's they're not met with like, oh well, the heck with you. No, it's like we will absolutely serve you exactly how you want to be served. So it's a bit of both, like there. But yeah, women were owning a lot of stuff. A lot of women business owners.
Right.
A lot of women leadership. A lot of CEO women. A lot of just outspoken, tough women.
Right.
I was like. And that taught me a lot. The game actually was a good education.
Right.
And interestingly too, just a lot of I think a lot of other types of freedoms that I didn't expect. In terms of just gender, sexual expression, which was like also surprising. Very free, open-minded. It feels like worlds ahead, kind of thinking there in a lot of ways. But at the same time, you have like the law, which is very old fashioned and in all of these countries
Right.
so it's like at odds but very intelligent, very aware. I mean, I felt like they knew more about American politics than we do.
Right.
Definitely. I mean, things like that.
Right.
Gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
All right, cool. So let me drop a couple websites, domains,
Sure.
dates, and everything, and then you want to play us out one more song?
I was hoping you
up
were
for
going to say that. Yeah.
All right, cool.
I got to hear one more.
All right, so once again, check out fourthwaveap.com, fourth spelled out, at fourthwaveap on Instagram and Facebook. April, check her site out, aprildrums.com, and at April Centrone, Centrone, Centrone. Check out the Fourth Wave dates coming up. We're going to get Mike on a saxophone out there. You got to get this guy.
It's been years.
So 7/19, you'll be at Langosta Lounge. 8/11 at Danny Clint's Transparent Gallery. Excuse me. And then September, man, Fourth Wave, right?
Yeah.
The pressures, the countdown's on.
Countdown.
All right,
Yeah.
sweet. So, all right, we'll get people, check it out online. Get ready for the fall. Fourth Wave Rehearsal Studios will be opening. What do you want to play for us on your way out of here?
Well, gee, I don't know. Maybe I'll actually take a sing. I'll sing.
All right, let's do it.
This is a very, very old music from what's called the Andalusian period from southern Spain, when the Arabs were there like 700 years, in a rhythm cycle of 10 beats per measure. And it's one of the most famous songs, and it's at least 1,000 years old. I don't know.
Wow.
So, and it has some pretty cool old Arabic poetry that I'll sing. You want to play for me?
I love this.
All right, and don't forget to shout out Kira Sanchez, dropping some
Yeah.
percussion. She's a little shy with the mic, but she can drop the beat.
Should I play? I don't play anything. Yeah, play it. لما
singer.
I know, totally. You want to tell us real quick what that's about?
Sure. Like all these songs are basically love songs, and sort of about like this person who's dancing, and they're so beautiful, and you know,
Right.
a lot of these songs are about love and nature and drinking wine.
The best thing.
Yeah.
Longing.
Yeah. This is a song that we taught the kids. Well, gosh, we've taught kids everywhere in the refugee camps and New York City public schools and Taiwan. This is a song that you just heard, which is like heard by many. So it's a really, really beautiful song. And I figured to keep the mood like slightly up, we could do like 30 seconds of something a little bit like. Want to do?
All right, what's this instrument called again?
So this, last but not least, is the darbuka,
Okay, cool.
D-A-R-B-U-K-A, and it's associated a lot with belly dance.
Okay.
So we'll do like a very, very quick little like belly dance solo style
Awesome.
thing.
Do you want to?
Ming, you're going to belly dance for us?
I get to pull it out, right?
Sweet. Get in the middle over there to give us a belly dance.
I left my gear at home.
A little faster.
Wow, that was cool.
So happy I got that.
That was really sweet. Darbuka rocks. That seems like something that'd be fun for percussionists to pick up and start.
Totally. Yeah, it's definitely, most of my students want to study that.
Right.
I mean, they want to study that and this because this is like also, this is probably the easiest one, but it's super easy.
Right.
So, you know, that's most of my students, and then the fewest of my students are that's hard. The rick is hard.
Right.
But darbuka and frame drum
That's cool.
are popular.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And there's a lot going on, like many fingers and palm touches to get different sounds,
Yeah,
right?
you can, if you press the
I had to.
if you like, if it's, you know, if you mute it a little bit like this, you have different pitches.
Right. That was cool.
Yeah, you were doing that, and then you
Yeah.
were flicking it as you're going. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, then there's, you know, techniques like that, which actually Persian technique, where you let all your fingers drop and it sounds like a lot of people rolling at once, with just like heavy hands, and
That's really
a lot
cool.
of cool stuff.
Awesome. April, thanks very much for coming in.
Yeah,
Kira,
of
thanks for
course.
coming
Thank
in
you,
as
guys.
well. We definitely
you.
appreciate it. Once again, check out fourthwaveap.com, aprildrums.com, at April Centrone. We are the MulletCast. My name is Evan Balmer. Follow me on Instagram at Evan Balmer.
Mike Marcia at mortgageguy_Mike. Thank you guys. That was awesome.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.